Hello, I'm Chris Pearl, and the project that I've been working on, I got my data set from Kaggle.com, and it's all concerned with the ESRB rating board. If you don't know who they are, they're a lot like, for instance, if you're watching a movie and you see like the PG-13 or the rated R, they're a lot like that, except instead of for movies or TV shows, they do video games. If you've ever looked at a video game box and you see that little T there, or an M or a E, they're the people who put it there. The main goal of that is to communicate to parents like, hey, I don't know if you should be letting your kid play this M-rated game. You might want to know what's in it, right? Like, if it's got a lot of violence in it, you don't want a young child to be playing it, or it's got a lot of swearing or nudity. That's not something you really want your kid to be doing without your knowledge, right? Um, so the main concern that we're focused on here is the M rating. Now, the M rating's a little special from the others because, well, you can go anywhere and like, if a game is rated T or if it's rated E, you're not really barred access from it usually. Uh, any kid can go into a store and buy an E-rated game or a T-rated game, but you sometimes run into the issue with M-rated games. You kind of alienate any potential younger audience because they're unable to play it, right? Like, for instance, sometimes if you go into certain stores and you try to buy an M-rated game, they card you, right? They ask for your license and make sure you're old enough, right? Or if you, some kids' parents just won't let them play. So if you're a game developer or a company that publishes games and you are at risk of losing money for a game that you're marketing towards children, uh, you might want to know if your game is going to be rated M before it comes out or before the ESRB has made that decision, right? So the goal of my model is to determine what details on the back of the box, these specific details here. If you'll notice, if you look on the back of the box, let's see if I can get that in frame, it says like language, suggestive themes, if I can focus on that. But it says language, suggestive themes, use of alcohol and tobacco, and violence, right? Uh, those are just an example of what they can say. I've got this other game here that's rated M, right? And it's got blood, crude humor, strong language, suggestive themes, and violence. So, but we want to know which details that show up on the back of the box lead to which rating. Now, the ESRB is just a board of people who make decisions based on video games. There's no it's not like a robot that's automatically like, oh, this game's got, they say bad words in it, it's rated M, or this game has green blood in it, it's only rated teen, right? So our module is not going to be right 100% of the time because humans are unpredictable, but the goal is to get it right as much as we possibly can, just based off this information on the back here. Okay, let's swap over to my screen. So let's take a look at the data set that we're actually using. Let me back out of this, Okay, so I've got this pulled up here. Oh, what is that doing? It's on Zoom for some reason. All right. So I got this data set from Kaggle.com. This was compiled by a man named Muhammad Alamed. I'm sure I butchered that. But why does it keep doing that? Something holding down a button? Oh, it is. Okay, the game cases I've got are holding down control. But the dataset contains 1,895 games and then 34 of the descriptors, including the name and console. Obviously, we're not too concerned about the name and console, so we'll remove those in a bit. But I want to keep the name within the data so I can it's fun to see what games are what. The console is not that important because it's a very confusing variable. 0 is just on PS4. Let me scroll down to that. Yeah, 0 is just on PS4, but 1 means it's on both PS4 and Xbox One. That's a really weird way to put that. There's not a ton of games that are just on PS4 and not PS4 and Xbox One. There's certainly not 1,000. So that we're just not going to be concerned with that one because we're concerned with what the back of the box says. So there's actually a lot of these things here. What are they called? Descriptors. And some of them it seems like they cross over a lot. Like, for instance, blood and gore, crude humor. I know there's some other mature humor, crude humor, mature humor, that you would think those mean the same thing. However, the issue with this data is, let me pull up this one in Excel to kind of get a better look at it. But the issue that you come into is, well, the game's got blood and it's also got blood and gore. Well, this one's got blood and gore, but it's got 0 for blood, even though in the name blood and gore, it should have blood. That's because on the back of the box, let me pull that up again really fast. If you look at the back of the box, it's just got so many slots. This is reversed camera. It says like blood, crude humor, strong language, suggestive themes, and violence. It doesn't say blood and gore, and this one has suggestive themes, use of alcohol and tobacco. It doesn't say alcohol, tobacco. It says alcohol and tobacco. So it's both in one. So it's like there's a lot of variables that mean the same exact thing, but they don't do the same exact thing, if that makes sense. They don't show up on both, right? So let me go out of this and actually show you the model that I've developed based on this. What would that be? Please ignore my wallpaper. So here's the design I made. So we've got, first I took the video games, this one, I took this and retrieved it, obviously, put it into rapid miner here, and then I went into nominal to binomial to change the ESRB rating into nominal or binomial, because obviously it's just letters. That's not very important to me. Then I go to select attributes, and well, I have this issue here, right? I have these 4 ratings, E, ET, and T, but I'm only concerned with whether or not a game's rated M, right? Okay, and I'm not super concerned with what console it's on, because well, that's not what we're doing. The title is not important, but I think it's important to keep in there. Just let me show you what I did. So we later go on to set role, right? So I turned the title, I listed it as an ID. If you list an item as an ID in RapidMiner, that's like the numbers. It basically says this is not important to the data, but I would like to keep it there to look at. And well, we selected the attributes, we looked at that already, and then I split the data. Now the reason we split the data is because 70% of it we're testing with, and 30% of it with, 70% we're testing the data, and 30% we're taking that data and putting it against this data to see how accurate it is, see how well it's able to guess it, right? So I went with decision tree. There are a couple of options I could have done. I compared ROCs here a little bit ago. I have a screenshot of that in the document, but if you look at this, you'll see that the decision tree, it's better than the logistic regression, and it was better than the naive Bayes too, because both of those, when we go over to the results here, they had lower scores here, which is not good. That's our main concern, but let me finish this before I get into that. So you apply the model, and then you apply the performance, and then we want the accuracy, the classification error, absolute error, and I just kind of started clicking down here, but here is what our concerns are. So let's run it. I've got it already up, but it's fun to click the run button. And here is our data, and here's what it guessed. So let's go for confidence that it is a mature game, because that's what we're concerned with. Now, as you can see here, it's already messed up. Oh no, well, get that back. It's messed up on Soul Calibur 6. ESRB said, no, this game's not rated M. But our model said, well, I think it should be rated M. And it thinks it should be rated M because it's got blood, it's got mild lyrics, and it's got partial nudity. Now, if you ask me, that should probably be a mature game. So, like I said, the ESRB is a board of people, so you can't 100% trust everything they say. They may make decisions that don't make sense sometimes. Mutant Football League. Huh, never heard of that. Anyway, where I'm going with this is, well, it keeps getting less and less confident as it goes on. While we stay, it's pretty confident down through here. For instance, it messed up here. Legend of Heroes, Trails of Cold Steel 4. They said, yeah, it's probably mature. Reality, no, it's not. We scroll down a little bit more, and it gets less and less confident. 97.4. Now it's only down to 69.2, not even a whole 70. And it's obviously messing up more and more as we get in the middle. But then, as we further get down, it's not messing up anymore because, well, it's guessing no, it's not, right? This one was rated M, but it said it wasn't. See, it's not perfect, but the further down we get, you'll notice there's a whole lot more falses than trues, because if we look at the statistics here, that's not the right one. We want to do here we go, or no, here we are. Okay, ESRB rating M. There are 452 false in this training data here, and there's 116 true. So it's a lot more common for it to not be rated M than it is for it to be rated M. So what does that mean? Well, that kind of sounds backwards, but if you look at it here, you'll see, well, if it predicted false and it was really false, so The model says, no, this game's not mature, and the box also says, yeah, this game's not mature. It's 96.02% good at guessing that. It does that 96.02% of the time correctly. But over here, you'll notice if a game is rated M and the model says, hey, I think that's rated M, it's got 90.52%. That's about a 6% difference. That's still pretty good at guessing it, right? But it's worse because there's not as much data rated M. There's less. So it's good that this number is so high because that means the model is fairly accurate in telling whether or not a game is mature or not. We're not. This is what we're concerned with because the maturity of a game means. I think I got into this a little bit ago. It determines whether or not a certain audience is going to be able to play it. Like young kids aren't always able to play mature games, right? Parents might not let them. They might need to buy it with their own money, and the store won't let them, and that's a concern, right? So let's take a look at the actual decision tree. Now, one thing I do like about the decision tree over the logistic regression and naive Bayes is it gives you, well, it's an actual decision tree. It's a little hard to read, but less than or equal to 0.5, that's, well, there's only 0 and 1 are the only options for these. Is it strong language? Why does it say that? That's funny. But less than 5% means no, and then higher than 5% is yes. So if there's no strong language in the game, then we go to strong. Is there any strong sexual content? No. Any blood and gore? No. Any partial nudity? Nope. No sexual themes? Nope. No blood? Well, okay, I don't think your game's rated M. That checks out. There are a few little quirks here, like is there strong language? Yes. Is there crude humor? Yes. Oh, well, your game's not rated M. That seems backwards, but it's because maybe crude humor is so uncommon that the fact that it exists maybe kind of signifies that it's a game for younger kids, right? Like maybe they make like jokes that like I'm not sure exactly what crude humor means, but I think it's more like childish humor, perhaps. And then mild, if there is no crude humor, but there is mild blood and blood and gore, then that's true. So just keep that in mind as you're following this tree. It's not always perfect. No descriptors is a weird one, by the way. That just means there was nothing listed, which is strange. But yeah, another important thing to look at is the weights. You click it out here, and well, blood and gore. That's a pretty good indicator of whether or not it's going to be mature or not. Same thing with alcohol references, crude humor, and then it kind of gets less and less all the way down to simulated gambling. And in fact, it doesn't even show all of them because some of them apparently don't have much of a say at all in it. They don't even have 0.05% or 0.5% weight because there's like 38 of these, right? A lot of them cross over mild violence, fantasy violence, right? There's 38 of these. There's only, what? This isn't 38. This is less. I'm not going to set and count it here, but it's less. It doesn't show the ones that don't have as much weight. Now, I could take those out of the data set, but I don't think, since they don't do it, it doesn't matter to take them out. Now, another thing I would like to show you is the, not that one, where's the lift chart? I must have deleted it a bit ago. But instead of, there's an interesting thing we can look at here called a lift chart. You pull out, I don't do that. Now we put these two things in here, and we connect all these to the end here. And okay, so our target class is true, because that's what we're concerned with looking at. So we hit play, and then we look at this. So what this means is if the model is this confident, and you grab the first 4, if we did a different kind, it would be like 20%, 20%, 20%, 20%, 20%, or 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. But since we did the decision tree, it's the bins are a little differently shaped. So for the first 4, since it had one mess up with that Soul Calibur game, it's not always going to get it right. So it gets the first 3 right. Now that's a very small sample set, so I wouldn't say, oh, it's only 70% accurate the first 4, because look, when it's 99% accurate, it got all of them right. So that's for the first 65, it messed up once. And then you go on to the next 15 after that, so 65 plus 15, that's what, 80? Now for the first 80, it's messed up twice. But then we get down even further to where it's only 69% confident. Then it's starting to mess up more and more. because this is what missed 9 here, and then it's only 63% confident. It misses 7, and then when it's only 40% confident, it's actually not missing there because it's guessing the other way around, right? Um, because obviously this data set goes both ways. This one's pretty confident that it only messed up 3 times on guessing false. So let's take a look at this again. Where is it? Sorry, it's hard to. There's a lot of these. Oh yeah, well we've pulled out the lift chart, so we can't look at the data again. Yeah, that's what the lift chart does, and it's important to note whether or not the rating of the game. This is just the model that determines the rating of the game, and it's important to look at that to see like what maybe went wrong with the data and kind of understand how the data got to where it is. So let me swap back to person real quick. So that kind of brings us down to this last part here. That's all well and good, right? But what does this mean for me, or you, theoretical video game developer or publisher who's looking to make as most money as possible off this game that you just made? Well, let's say that you're marketing this game towards kids, and you're looking at the model and you're putting things that are in your game in there, and you're thinking, huh, this game might come out to be rated M. Now, you've got kind of 2 options you can do there. If the model's pretty confident about it, for one. I don't know if I would spend a lot of money based on something the model's not super sure on, super confident about. So your first option you can do is, well, maybe go back into the game and tone back some of the things that made the rating so high. For instance, like if somebody went into Metal Gear Solid and maybe took out the suggestive themes and violence, well, one, it'd be a completely different game. But 2, it might bring the rating down if you're so concerned about it. Or on the other side of things, maybe embrace the rating, right? Like it's rated M, maybe don't advertise to children, right? Because, well, they can't play the game, right? They can't buy the game. Maybe instead of putting commercials for it on like Nickelodeon or Cartoon Network, put commercials for it on adult networks like Fox or TBS, right? Just keep that in mind when you're marketing. And so my recommendations to a theoretical company looking at this data are, well, 1, do not trust the model 100% of the time, because there will always be quirks with it, because the ESRB is a rating board. It's just some people who come up with reasons why games should be rated what they're rated, and the descriptors they put on there are kind of just things to tell parents, like what's in it. There may be other deeper things that determine why they go into that, or they might just sometimes they could review basically the same game twice and give it a different rating because, well, they're people make errors, right? Or people feel differently about things, or somebody may think this game should be rated M and maybe not. So the model is not an end-all be-all of things, but it is nice to look at if you're concerned about the rating of your game. Now, I would say I would hope you're not that concerned about the rating of the game this far into development to where you need to consult a model instead of looking at instead of having a good prediction of what it's going to be based on what you've put in the game. But if you're still unsure, the model can be helpful to see what has happened in the past with all the data on PS4 and Xbox One games. That's I guess that would be last gen now. But as you're making your new game, maybe look at this and make sure it fits what you're going to do and what you think it should be. Because if it's the complete opposite, if the model is 100% confident about it, I maybe edit your marketing or maybe take a step back and think, okay, how sure are we about this? But that, all in all, that's what I would say to a theoretical company. But that's my model, and thank you for watching.